Hi, I'm Flegg, founder of Ethical Property Partners. HMOs are touted as the quick win of £1,000 a month per property. You hear people shouting from the rooftops how simple it is. That's not quite true. And in this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about HMOs before you start going down that path. What is a HMO? Well, in a nutshell, it's two unrelated individuals living in a property together. And by unrelated, the definition is they're not related by blood and they're not in a relationship together. So boyfriend and girlfriend count as one household, but boyfriend and girlfriend with a mate count as two households. That's a HMO. So that's the broad definition of a HMO. What are the benefits of a HMO? Well, in a nutshell, take a £500 a month property up north somewhere. That one property with 4 bedrooms, you may be able to get £200, £250 a month for each of those bedrooms by splitting it up and having 4 sharers living in that property. And so instantly you can see you've doubled, maybe even a bit more, your income on that property. Yes, there are some expenses. Usually you'll cover the council tax, usually unless they're students and then they're exempt. Usually you'll cover the bills, so you'll cover broadband, electricity, gas, TV license perhaps, but overall you'll make far more money from a HMO than from a single let. The other advantage of HMOs is, unlike single tenancies where you either have a tenant or you don't, so in a month when you have a tenant you're in profit, but in a month where there's a void, you're actually having to pay the mortgage out of your own pocket, and so you're actually in negative cash flow in that month. Whereas with a HMO, you're highly unlikely to have more than one room empty at any one time. So it means that you've got more consistent positive cash flow. So if you've got a 5-6 bedroom HMO, you're far more likely to have 3, 4, 5 bedrooms consistently full, and perhaps just one bedroom occasionally empty as one tenant moves out and the next one moves in. So you're very less likely to have to put your hand in your own pocket to pay the mortgage, etc. So what are the downsides of a HMO? Well, in a nutshell, it's the fact that you've got 4 or 5 or 6 or more separate tenancies. You've got 4, 5, 6 separate individual people in the property all interacting, and that takes a lot of management. So although your profits are 3 or 4 times higher, in my experience, your effort, time, stress, hassle factor is also tripled or quadrupled. Because of those interactions, you've often got someone moving out, so you're doing far more viewings, you've got people moving in, you've not got one rental payment a month, you've got 4, 5, 6 rental payments a month, so it's a lot more hassle. And the other factor to consider is the fact you've got communal areas. Tenants are often in a HMO far less considerate about the communal areas. They don't clean them as often, they don't perhaps put the rubbish out, they perhaps won't clean the kitchen or bathrooms, which means that you often will employ a cleaner, which is fine, and perhaps a gardener as well, but then those are additional team members that you have to manage, whereas with a single AST, you give them the keys, they pay you every month, they look after the entirety of the property. So there is a lot more time and stress and hassle associated with a HMO. The answer, you might think, is giving that property to a letting agent to manage. And there are HMO letting agents. In my experience, they can't manage my properties to my level of satisfaction. So although I do outsource most of my lettings management to letting agencies for my single let portfolios, my HMO portfolios, unless I've let them on a lease to a charity, if I'm actually taking separate rental payments and I have unrelated tenants in the properties, I manage those well. My team manage them in-house, because it's a very hard thing for letting agents to do effectively. And you only need a room or 2 empty on a regular basis, and all of a sudden your HMO is no longer more lucrative, more profitable than a single AST. So what do you need to be aware of with HMOs? Well, there's 3 main things that you need to consider. The first is the area of your HMO. Is it in an area where single people are going to want to live? And you have to think about, is it a white collar HMO? Is it a blue collar HMO? Is it an housing benefit HMO, and that will attract different types of people for obvious reasons. But do they want to live there? Are there good transport links? Is it close enough to town? Is it in the right street for single people to want to live there? Area is the first factor to consider. The second is licensing. There are really strict rules about how to make your HMO safe, far more stringent regulation than with a single AST. So you have to put in things like fire doors, you have to put in smoke alarms, you have to make sure that the property is generally to a much higher standard, much higher than probably your house and my house that we live in ourselves. So there's a cost associated to that compliance. You also have to buy a license, and licenses cost anywhere between £500 and £1,500 every 5 years. The final factor to consider when thinking about HMOs is planning permission. Now, in most of the country, you can take a residential dwelling, that's C3 planning consent, and turn it into a HMO of up to 6 bedrooms, 6 unrelated individuals, that's C4 planning consent in most parts of the country. If you want to go to 7 or 8 or more sharers in a property, you will automatically require planning permission. It's called sui generis planning permission. However, in many parts of the country, especially cities and city centres, what you'll find is an Article 4 directive. And what that does is it takes away the permitted development rights of turning your single dwelling into a HMO. And in an Article 4 area, you must ask for planning permission before turning a property into a HMO. And in most areas, that planning permission is very likely to be declined. And so it's very important before purchasing a property to make sure that A, it's licensable, you're going to be able to make it safe and get a HMO license, B, it's in the right area, and C, that you're going to be able to get planning permission for it, or planning permission is not required. So, in summary, HMOs can be fantastic. They're a great way of bumping up the cash flow in your portfolio, and if you're trying to escape a 9 till 5 job, then HMOs can be a quick way of swapping the time you invest in your job for time you invest in your HMO and freeing you from the shackles of your 9 till 5. However, they're not without hard work, lots of hard work, they're not without stress, and you need to be aware of those 3 crucial factors. Is it in the right area? Is it licensable? Finally, planning permission. Does it have planning permission for a HMO, or can you get planning permission? If you've got a question about HMOs, perhaps you own a HMO and you've got a question about it, or perhaps you're considering buying a HMO, drop a question in the comments below and we'll get back to you. We'll help in any way we can. Happy investing. If you've enjoyed this video, guys, click subscribe, click like, click the notification bell, and you'll get way more of our great quality content. See you then.